So now I have my WordPress site uploaded. You're going to just a quick tour of the back end. This is what I call the back end of WordPress. So we're looking at the back end even before we see the front end. What you see here is all the files that make this WordPress system work. You're going to see an index.php. The folder, this basically, you're tempted to think of this as your home page, but really, we don't really deal with this page at all. 99% of our work is going to work inside WP content. Notice I'm doing this on the remote server, which I probably shouldn't because it's taking too long. So let me cancel that. So I'm going to do this on the local version. You're going to have WP content, you have plugins, and this is your plugins folder and your themes folder. And the themes, right now I have two of them, which we'll see briefly. 2011, 2012, there'll probably be a 2013 out pretty soon. These are where your theme folders are going to be, and this is actually where you're going to do all your work. It's in the theme folder. So it depends upon which theme you're using is where you're going to be doing your back-end work. Now before we get into all that, the one thing that we need to do in the installation is we have to set up our WP config. Now that doesn't exist yet, but what you do have is a WP config sample, and the instructions will tell you to open this file. This is all PHP code, so you don't see anything in the design view. What you're going to do is you're now going to connect to your database using these in this area right here. This is the first thing that you're going to see on the WP config. So database name here. Remember that I wrote this down earlier. So my database name was, and I believe I called it test. You know what, I have to check this out. You have to be very careful with your text files and update them. I remembered I changed it to test2. So your database name, oops, username, so that was it is all case sensitive, so if you had a capital that you put in for the username and you don't put the capital there, you're going to have a connection problem. DB host, a lot of times it is localhost. It just depends upon your hosting company. HostTech provided this information, and it's this one here. It's what they call the server. I really appreciate the fact that HostTech does this. I don't particularly like doing it as localhost, so they give me that little bit of extra protection there. Oops, I put this in the wrong place. This should be username. And password, this is not my password, but for the sake of my personal security, I'm just going to put that in for now. Okay, now the way to make this work is you want to save this as WP config, WP-config. So they intend for you to take this sample out, and that's what activates this file. So I'm going to save that. Now, this is something that I found quite useful, and that's salt down here. This is for database security. And it's really easy to do this. What it does is it just puts unique phrases in here for authorization. Security key service, I believe, is something like that. Anyway, the way you do this is you select this link right here, HTTPS API, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to go to a, I'm just going to create a new page. Well, I'll just do this so I don't need this page anymore. I paste that link in there, and then you just get this bizarre page with a bunch of funky looking code, but it looks a little familiar, so I'm going to copy this code go back to Dreamweaver, and then just paste it where they have this filler text in there. Again, this is just for security purposes only. And then another thing I like to do is where it goes down to table prefix, and I'm going to change that to a separate prefix. Now the reason why I do this, you can do something, I just do some kind of simple little prefix that isn't WP, because WP is the standard WordPress table prefix, and people trying to hack into your database are going to assume that that's what it is. This isn't going to keep people from hacking into you, none of these are, but it does deter them, and you always want to deter people like that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the wp-config.php. So you can upload your files using these up and down arrow keys here. So I'm going to click that. Yes to all. It is a modified page, so I'm going to click yes. I don't need dependent files, so no. So I'm going to go ahead, and as you can see, there's my wp-config.php on the remote server. The next thing I do is I am now going to go to my browser, and I'm going to type in, and remember I had a subfolder called WordPress, and I'm going to hit that. And I just breathed a big sigh of relief, because seeing this page means that my database connection worked. And so I am now connected to the database. This page that you see is all created from the database itself. If I didn't see this page, what I would see is connection to database failed, or something like that. And that would mean then that something was wrong. Maybe you capitalized a letter in your password or something like that. And believe you me, I do it all the time. Alright, so now this is just simple. I'm just going to fill out the values. You can change this later down the road. Username, I'm just going to say by the way, I have a little program called where is it? RPG, like this. I like this one because what it does is it generates new passwords, and so I can copy and paste in both these areas there. Now if you use something like this, just be careful. You want to make sure you keep a record of this. I know this may seem a little obsessive, but that way you have a clear you have a record of this. I can't tell you how many times this is what the major problem is that people can't remember their username and passwords. All of this, this is where all the magic happens. Click Install WordPress. And that's it. You're done. Now when I log in, I have my admin panel here. Here's my username. Paste my password in, log in, and I'm good to go. I have successfully installed WordPress on my site, and as you can see right here, this is a very, very basic, this is my actual website as it stands right now, a very basic look. This is the theme that is associated by default. And now we can start having fun.